Hi, my name is Rachel and I'm Hannah's assistant. I'm going to be showing y'all how to do the screening for our Brigance assessment tool. And this is Paul Bonnie, Hannah's nephew, who's going to be acting like a 4-year-old for the screening. So we've got the 4-year-old Screen 3 data sheets and our screening binder right here. So what you'll do is you will sit across from the child that you're screening. We are sitting closer than you would need to for the purpose of the video, but you would sit across from the table with your child and make sure that you fold the outside cover of your data sheet inside, because this is carbon paper, you don't want to write all the way through. You'll write your child's name, parent, caregiver, address, personal information, date of screening, age, birth date, school program, teacher, examiner, all of that information. Now we're going to do an example of the screening. I'm going to ask a couple of questions of Paul, my 4-year-old here. But when you do the screening, you want to make sure and do all of the questions here on the data sheet and mark with a circle when the questions are answered correctly, and mark with a slash if they're answered incorrectly. So we're going to start with personal information. What is your first name?
Paul.
All right, circle. What is your last name?
Bonnie.
Bonnie. How old are you, Paul?
I'm 4 years old.
4 years old, all right, great. And what is your address? Do you know where you live?
I don't know the address for my house.
Okay, that's fine. So Paul didn't know that, so I put a slash over number 4, the street address. So he got 3 correct. I'm going to put a 3 over here under the number correct point value. So now we're going to move on to a different question. I'm going to go to the 6th section because it is more a movement type of skill set. It's gross motor skills. So now I'm going to ask Paul to walk like me. I'm going to put one heel in front of the other. So walk like this. Okay? Can you do that for me, Paul? Okay, he's got it. Walks forward, heel to toe, 5 steps. He did it. So as I finish that question, there are then questions asking him to hop 5 hops on preferred foot, hop 5 hops on other foot, stands on one foot for 10 seconds, or stands on the other foot for 10 seconds. And I would keep going through those questions, demonstrating for him, and then having him try to imitate that movement. And for each question, there's an instruction for whether or not to stop after 3 incorrect answers or to go ahead and administer all items. So you'll just read the instructions on the sheet and that'll let you know how to start or stop the questions. So now that we've completed the screening for Paul Bonnie, we're going to use the Brigance scoring tool on the website. So I've gone to brigance.com. I'm going to scroll down to Screens 3 scoring tool. It says New. We'll click on that and we'll enter our information. I've already done it here. Paul Bonnie, examiner Rachel Bournet, child's date of birth, date tested. I click Submit. Then a page like this will come up and you will type in the scores for each section of the screen, and you're going to use the column to the left on your screening sheet. There's a little tiny picture of it on the website. So after you've typed in that information, you'll click Submit once again, and the tool will generate a data sheet that gives you an age equivalent for each of our domains, the academic, cognitive, language development, and physical development. So Paul is chronologically 4 years and 2 months old, but his age equivalency, as you can see, is a little bit different based on his performance. So what you can do is just print that page out. It's very easy. You press print, and you'll get a little handout like this. And these age equivalencies here will help guide how you're going to use the actual assessment, the IED III. So now that we've generated our scoring tool from the Brigance website, we're going to use that sheet of paper that we printed to find out exactly which questions in the assessment are appropriate for Paul's age equivalency. So our first domain is language development. So if we look on our sheet, language development, his age equivalency is 3 years and 2 months. The first section that we're using under language development is D5, knows personal information. You see that we've skipped ahead of several areas because they're not relevant to our age group of children. So if he's 3 years and 2 months old, the nearest age listed is 3 years and 0 months. So I would start on page 105, question 3. So we've made it very easy for ourselves by putting some sticky notes in our book. So I'm going to flip to section D with this tab right here. This is the first page of the section. We've skipped ahead of some areas, so I'm going to use my sticky to direct myself to page 105. And as my cheat sheet instructs me, I will start with question 3. If I look at the book, question 3 asks, are you a boy or a girl? I would ask Paul that question and look over into my Brigance record book and find D5. Right here, question 3. Are you a boy or a girl? If he gets that question correct, I would circle it. Alright, so for the purpose of this instructional video, we're going to just do one example from the assessment. So I'm looking on section D7, which is identifies pictures. And just like the screen, you're going to sit across from your student at a table so they can look at the book as they need to. On my screening tool, Paul is at an age equivalency of 3 years and 2 months for language development. So I'm going to flip to the age closest to 3 years and 2 months, and we're always going to round down in these activities. So the closest age to 3 years and 2 months is 3 years and 0 months. So I'm going to start with number 16. All right. It says, show the student the pictures, point to all of the pictures, and ask them to find the name of the object that's listed. So we're going to look at these pictures, Paul, okay? Can you point to a boat for me? Great. Wonderful. Can you point to scissors? Yes. Great job. Can you point to a kite? No, that's not a kite, but that's okay. We're going to move on to the next one, okay? So even though Paul could not identify a kite, because the instructions in this section and many sections in the book ask us to only stop after there have been 3 consecutive wrong answers, we're going to keep moving on to number 19 after the kite. So I'm going to continue as I did before, and I'm going to ask Paul to please point to a wagon for me. Yes, got it. Can you point to a ladder? Mm-hmm. Can you point to a fish? No, that's not a fish, but that's all right. That is all right. Let's move on to the next one. Can you point to a duck?
It's the bird, right?
No, that is also an animal, but that's not a fish. That's all right. The next one is a snake. Nope, that's not a snake. All right, so Paul, you've answered 3 incorrectly in a row, so that means we're going to move on to the next section, and we'll mark the last one that he got correct, which was number 20, ladder. Now that we've completed the assessment for Paul, we're going to go into our record book and make sure that we have all of the important information. We've got his name on the outside of the book, his name here under student's name, his birth date, and then in this row we've got the date of the test, the examiner, and as you can tell I've been marking with a pencil. For the first assessment you use a pencil, the second a blue pencil, and then a red, which you can find in the little tote that you'll get with your book. And then what I'll do, I'll close this up and I'll put it in a marked file folder. It says Paul Boney. And what will happen next is I will actually be coming to collect this information from you. We will set a time and I'll come and bring a portable scanning machine, copy machine, and I'll be collecting this data from you. So I will appreciate it a lot if you have it organized in a file folder like this. Thanks.